Rain hit the awning in sheets. The hostess locked the till. Andrew Whitfield looked across linen and glass and felt the room breathe out at closing. A figure at the door. Thin coat. Split shoes. Beard like steel wool. He stood as if the storm pushed him from behind. Kitchen is closed. A server called from the bar. Andrew lifted a hand. Hold a bowl. The old man did not step forward. He kept one palm on his ribs. He took in the smell of roast bone and thyme. He did not ask. Andrew walked in with a clean aura of heat and stock on his jacket. "I have stew," he said. "Sit by the heater." The man's hand shook. He sat. He did not meet anyone's eyes. Liam Carver strolled out from the private room with 2 friends in bright watches. Investor. Golf friend. He laughed when he saw the coat and the shoes. "You feeding the brand new doorman," he told the table. The friend smirked. One lifted his phone. Andrew held the bowl. He did not break eye contact with the old man. "Eat slow," he said. He set a heel of bread on the saucer. He set water by the elbow. The man's fingers closed around the spoon like it was a warm stone. He tasted. His shoulders fell one notch. Liam spoke to the room, not the man. "You ruin a room with pity." He clinked his glass with a knuckle. "This is a flagship, not a soup line." A busser froze with a rack. The maitre d' stared at the floor. A couple near the window drew tight. Andrew kept his voice flat. "You are a guest. Stay in your lane." "Your lane is profit," Liam shot back. He lifted his phone. "My partners love a late-night lesson." The old man wiped his mouth with the back of his wrist. He fished a small notebook from his coat and slid it toward Andrew. Grease on the cover. Pages saw from years. Handwritten lines. Measurements in cups and hands and knuckles. A title at the top of the first page. Sunday Bones. Andrew touched the paper with 2 fingers. He knew that handwriting without knowing why. He flipped one page. Notes on stock. Notes on timing. A line circled twice. Salt with your fingers. Taste with your ears. "Where did you learn this?" Andrew asked. The old man took one breath. "I wrote it." He kept his eyes on the steam. "Back, when I had 4 burners and a line of men in heavy coats who waited for slow food in fast weather." "What is your name?" Andrew asked. "Ezekiel Turner." The man said, "People on this block call me Zeke." Liam laughed again, louder. "He wrote the Bible, too," he told his friends. They snorted. One raised the phone higher. A flash popped. The pastry chef stepped out with a clean towel in both hands. She stood between Zeke and the lenses. The room cooled. Andrew set the notebook on the bar gently. He looked at Liam. "You owe him quiet while he eats." "He owes me a clean doorway." Liam shot back. He turned to staff. "We do not let streets sleep in the brand." Zeke lifted his palm and held it steady in the air. "Leave him," he told Andrew softly. "Finish your night." Andrew took a slow breath and looked around the room. He saw his team hold their posture. He saw the couples pretend to look at menus they had already paid. He saw Zeke eat like a person who still believed in soup and bread. He walked to the pass. "One more bowl," he told the line, "and a stool." A young line cook slid a stool from the wall. Andrew placed it by the heater. He set the second bowl when the first was done. Zeke nodded once. "Thank you," he said. He did not touch the notebook again. Liam moved closer. "What is the play?" he asked. "Adopt a mascot. Post a clip. Book brunch on pity." Andrew kept his eyes on Zeke. He eats. He warms up. He leaves with dry sleeves. Zeke finished the second bowl slowly. He stood and tucked the notebook back into his coat. He reached into an inside pocket and pulled out a folded blue ribbon with frayed edges. He placed it on the bar. "For your wall," he said. "From a fair in a winter when words cut and soup healed." He turned to the door. "Where do you sleep?" Andrew asked from behind the bar. Zeke paused. "Under the old arcade sign," he said. "Wind keeps off there. A church lets me in 2 nights a week. They have cots if you pass a breath test." He shifted his weight. "Thanks for the broth." He pushed the door. Rain swallowed him. Liam barked a laugh that hit the glass. Poetry from a man who smells like wet cardboard. He slapped the bar with 2 fingers. We open a third location, or we cut the space. Choose by Friday. Andrew wiped a circle on the bar with a cloth. He looked at the blue ribbon on the oak. He looked at the notebook in Zeke's hand through the rain-fogged door. He looked at his staff, faces held on him like hooks. Shift meeting in the morning, he told them. No cameras, no jokes. Bring your hands. Watch till the end to see who keeps the keys and who walks away. Subscribe to Echoes of Black Struggle for weekly wins where dignity leads. Morning brought dry light and sharp coffee. Zeke's stool sat where he left it. The blue ribbon lay under a short glass, flattening the curl. Staff ringed the bar. Andrew held a pen and a thin notepad. Last night was not a moment, Andrew told them. It was a mirror. The sous chef crossed her arms. We feed, she said. We do not mock. The host rubbed his palms and stared at the floor. I laughed, he said, voice low. I hated it while I did it. Andrew nodded. Own it. Today we cut the joke from the room. They wrote a 5-line door card and taped it by the brass handle. Respect first. Seat with care. No mockery. Water and heat on request. Staff can comp a bowl without permission. They trained 10 minutes on language. Know these people. Know they. Names only. Ask one question. Are you hungry? At noon, Zeke did not come. Rain thinned to mist. 2 of Liam's friends did. They took the corner booth and dropped lines for a reaction. Street is bad for brand. Health scores drop when you let them in. Insurance hates soft hearts. Andrew worked the room like a quiet tide. He did not engage. He did not explain. He served. He watched the door. At 3, Zeke leaned in from a rain and touched the brass with 2 fingers like it was a memory. He took 3 slow steps inside. He held the notebook with both hands. He placed it on the bar. Left this by mistake, he told Andrew. He did not meet Liam's eyes. Andrew touched the cover. You left it on purpose, he said. Zeke looked up. I wanted to see if it fit here. He breathed once. People ate my food for years. Then prices rose. The lease tripled. A developer bought my block. I failed slow and then all at once. He lifted his hands a little. Now I hold pages and hunger. One weighs more. Liam's friends whispered. One masked a laugh with a cough. Andrew turned and put the notebook at the pass. We test one dish, he told the line. Sunday bones. Zeke is here to watch. Hands clean. Minds open. Liam stood. You turn my kitchen into a charity museum, he announced. He walked toward the door and stopped by Zeke. He gave a small bow like mock grace. Chef, he said, stage is over. Street is to the left. Zeke smiled without showing teeth. I have walked harder doors, he told the floor. He turned his shoulder. So Liam had to move around him to reach the rain. The test pot simmered. Staff tasted with small spoons. Faces changed. A quiet sound moved down the line. Andrew looked at Zeke. You wrote this, he repeated. Zeke did not blink. I cooked it so long it cooked me, he answered. Liam's friends rose from the booth, bored with a room that would not play with them. One snapped a photo of Zeke's notebook at the pass. A caption went up in seconds. Flagship turns food bank. The post hit fast. A health inspector hit faster. He walked through the door at 6 with a clipboard and a blunt tone. Complaint, he said. Unlicensed food handler in your kitchen. Mixed use risk. Step aside. The room went still. Stay tuned. The next scene decides if this kitchen serves or shuts. Tap subscribe so you do not miss the ruling. The inspector took 3 steps toward the pass. Andrew stepped in. We have gloves, logs, and a certified line, he said. Guest is not on the clock. He is tasting his own recipe while we test with licensed staff. The inspector looked at the car by the door. He looked at the spotless floor. He looked at Zeke's hands. Clean. He looked at Liam's friend by the window. Phone's ready. He clicked his pen open slowly. Zeke took a half step back. I can wait outside, he offered. Andrew shook his head once. You are in my room. The inspector checked labels. He checked the temp log. He pointed his pen at Zeke's notebook. No outside recipes, he warned. Corporate manuals only. Andrew kept his voice level. "This room grew on a book I wrote with a mentor," he said. "That book did not live in a corporate cloud. It lived in hands." The inspector stared at him for a long second. He capped the pen. "Clean," he said. "Watch your sign-offs." He turned to leave. Liam stepped forward with a smile that sat wrong on his face. "One more thing," he said. "Liquor license review. I filed a memo on your new policy of feeding all walk-ins. Poor optics for ABC." The inspector paused at the door. "Not my lane," he said. He left. The room did not breathe. Andrew kept his hands on the bar so they would not bawl. He looked at Zeke. He looked at the line. "Sunday bones on the menu this week," he told them. "Name it for the block." He lifted Zeke's notebook so everyone could see. Source on the menu. Credit on the page. Zeke blinked twice fast. His jaw worked. He did not speak. Liam's friends posted another photo. A comment thread turned sharp. One line rose to the top. "White savior soup." Andrew read it and felt a heat he knew well. He looked at Zeke. "I will not turn your life into my brand," he said. "If you want this dish on our menu, it is on our menu. If you want it at your table, I will bring you bowls until you say stop." Zeke lifted his chin. "Put it on the menu," he told him. "Hire 3 kids from this block. Teach them to salt with their fingers and listen to stock." Andrew nodded once. "Done." They shook hands across the bar. Staff clapped. It was not loud. It was steady. Liam's friends rolled their eyes and left. At midnight, the phone buzzed with a new tag. A photo of Zeke on a stool with a spoon. The caption by a stranger. "He looks like my father when he found work again." A courier slid an envelope under the kitchen door. Thin, heavy paper. Andrew broke the seal. "Notice of default." The letter read, "Loan covenants breached. Sale hearing in 10 days. He looked up. Zeke stood at the pass with his hands open like he was steadying a pot. "We have 10 days," Andrew said. The lights hummed. The room held its breath. Dawn. A list on the bar. 10 lines. Joy Reed, community organizer, took a marker and numbered them. She worked 3 jobs, ate at Andrew's place once a week, and pushed meetings into motion without noise. Tell the truth in public. Hire 3 kids today. Post the source on the menu. Publish the books. Open a pay-what-you-can lunch. Run a block cleanup at 6. Offer a free pot for the church. Call legal aid. Ask the land trust for a lease talk. Record stories from elders on this block. Andrew nodded through the list. "We do this in daylight," he said. He handed aprons to 3 teens who stood up when Joy called. Eli, Tiana, and Chris listened like the kitchen was a classroom. Zeke leaned on the pass with his notebook and his small half-smile. He showed how to skim stock without losing fat. He showed how to listen for a boil trying to break. Liam watched from the sidewalk with a coffee and a frown. His golf friend joked. "You turned the place into a summer camp," he said. Liam did not laugh this time. He sent a text. "Move the auction up if possible." By noon, bowls moved across the pass like a rhythm you know in your bones. A row of elders at the bar held spoons with both hands. One man cried quietly at his second mouthful. He did not wipe his face. Zeke rested his palm on the man's shoulder for one breath and moved on. Joy put a jar on the counter with a card that read, "Keep the pot hot." People dropped cash without talking about it. A couple from the next neighborhood put a check through the slot and walked out without eating. The dishwasher slid the check toward Andrew without a word. Andrew looked at the numbers and let out that breath again. At 3, the boardroom filled with light and noise. Andrew stood before the lenders with his books on the table. Zeke sat in the back row with Joy and the 3 teens in clean shirts. Liam stood by the window with his hands in his pockets. The chair flipped through pages. "You fed a man," she said. "You gained a crowd. You lost a partner." Andrew kept his voice even. "I lost a partner who wanted a clip, not a kitchen." "You also lost cash last quarter," she said. "My food costs went up," he answered. "I adjusted wrong. I am adjusting now. I am opening the books and moving the menu to neighborhood price. We will show you numbers in 1 week that match this block. Liam smiled without teeth. He will show you a line of soup fans and a pile of red ink. Joy lifted her hand. She did not wait for permission. We do not ask to save a vanity, she told the table. We ask to keep a table where this block feels safe. You hold a note. We hold stories. If you foreclose, you'll face a street that knows your names. The chair did not blink. Names do not change terms, she said. Terms can reflect values. Joy answered. Shift the collateral into a community land trust. Hold a note under a lease that bans eviction for brand play. Tie the rate to jobs for youth on this block. Publish the covenant. People will respect that. Silence. Then a soft cough. Then the chair looked at Andrew. You bring us a partner with that structure, she said. We will listen. Stay with us. This vote walks a thin line. Tap subscribe to follow the decision. An hour later, an email flashed on Andrew's phone. Health code review. ABC audit. Liquor license hearing set for Friday. Liam's friends had moved their campaign. Posts called Andrew a grifter and Zeke a prop. Old photos of Zeke's camp under the arcade sign spread with cold captions. We built the city. They squat. Andrew walked outside and read the lines. He pocketed the phone and met the eyes of every person on the sidewalk. We do not answer with heat, he told Joy. We answer with service you can measure. They set a whiteboard by the door and wrote numbers in large marker. Bowls served. Pay what you can. Job started. Soup delivered to the night shelter. They updated the counts each hour. People took selfies with the board like a scoreboard. At 5, a man in a suit walked into the kitchen without asking. He carried a file box and a calm face. He placed a card on the pass. Sal Torres, it read, Land Trust. He opened the file and set down a 3-page term sheet. We hold buildings. You sign a ground lease with public rules. No flip, no brand swap. Rent is low and fixed. You publish numbers. We inspect the books twice a year. Andrew read fast. He looked up at Joy. Joy nodded once. This is the partner, she told him. Zeke touched the paper with a fingertip and smiled at a corner of the room. By 7, the whiteboard showed numbers that made the room go quiet. Bowls tallied. Jobs listed by name. Dollars to the church pot. A girl in a school sweatshirt pointed the line that read, Free bowls for kids after practice, and lifted her phone with a grin. Liam watched from the sidewalk. He did not step in. He spoke into his sleeve as if he had a wire. He held his coffee too tight, and the lid bent. Do not scroll. The next 5 minutes decide the license and the lease. Share this with one person who runs a front desk. Friday came like a drum. The ABC hearing room smelled like paper and old coffee. On one side, Andrew and Joy and the teens. On the other, Liam and 2 lawyers in suits with identical shoes. The board sat high. The clock ticked loud. The ABC counsel read the complaint. Serving beyond posted hours. Serving to unseated guests. Serving outside policy. Risk to public safety. Andrew stepped to the mic. We posted a door card that sets a standard, he said. We seat with care. We comp bowls to hungry neighbors with water and heat. We do not serve alcohol to anyone off policy. We can show the log. He handed the log to the clerk. Joy placed photos of the door card behind him. Zeke stood in the aisle and did not speak. Liam's lawyer spoke next. Owner has shifted his business to a quasi-shelter, he said. He threatens a brand and the note. He takes investors hostage with street sentiment. Investors are not the public. Joy answered from her seat without a mic. We are. The board took a recess. Andrew walked to the hall. Zeke followed. You do not owe me, Zeke told him. Andrew stopped. I owe the truth, he answered. It tastes like your stock. The board returned. The chair read the decision with no drama. Warning only. No suspension. Post a policy on service boundaries. Train staff on ABC rules. Maintain logs. Return in 30 days for review. Liam's lips tightened. He dropped his gaze and typed furiously. They stepped into the light, with relief and sore feet. The teens cheered. Joy hugged Zeke with both arms. Andrew smiled and then did not. His phone buzzed again. A new email. Sale hearing moved up to Monday. Noon. Hang on. The next part hits the courthouse. Stay to the end to learn who signs the covenant. Tap subscribe. Night fell. The kitchen hummed. Sal from the Land Trust slid a thin box onto the pass and tapped the lid. For the hearing, he told Andrew. Andrew opened it. A plaque. Kitchen covenant. 5 lines. Ink still wet. A shadow crossed the door. Liam stood in the frame with the sheriff behind him. The sheriff held a notice. Possession at noon Monday, he read. The clock over the bar ticked loud. The courtroom held a cool morning. The judge wore tired eyes and a neat robe. The clerk called the case. Whitfield Dining versus Carver Holdings. Andrew stood with Joy at his shoulder. Zeke sat straight in the second row. The teens rested on the bench with hands clasped. Sal from the Land Trust held the plaque in a tote. Liam's lawyer spoke words like numbers. Default, covenant breach, sale. He pointed at charts. Social media cannot pay notes. Joy stood next. She did not raise her voice. This community does. We have numbers. Bowls served. Jobs started. Cash raised. A land trust partner ready to take the dirt and grant a long lease. The brand stays. The block breathes. The judge looked at Andrew. You tried to feed a man, she said. Now you feed a street. But the law wants paper and payment. Do you have them? Sal stepped up and set the plaque on the rail. He laid the lease on the table. Ground lease, he said. Fixed rent for 30 years. Renewal options. Public rules. No eviction for brand swap. The trust pays the arrears with community notes. The kitchen pays rent at a rate. That does not break the pot. Monthly reports in public. We filed a covenant with the clerk. The judge turned the page. She looked at the plaque. She tapped it with a pen. Read the 5 lines, she told Andrew. Andrew read. Feed the block. Hire the young. Post the books. Hold the room with respect. Keep the door safe. The judge looked at Liam. You own the current note, she said. Do you refuse a paying partner? Liam's jaw flexed. This is sentiment, he answered. I own the dirt. I drive the brand. He dilutes it with bowls for anyone who wanders in. Zeke stood without permission. He faced the bench. His voice carried. I wandered in because the door held, he said. A man in a jacket stood between me and a laugh. He gave me broth. He invited me to watch a pot. Then he wrote my name on a menu. That line put my back straight. That line put 3 kids in white aprons. That line pulled his room into a shape that looks like a town. He lifted the small blue ribbon from his pocket. He held it high. I earned this when my name was still on letters. I lost letters. I kept the hands. I will not let another man's joke steal the hands of the next kids on this block. Sign the lease. The room did not move. The judge took a breath. We have one more fact, she said. She held up 2 photos. One showed Zeke in a small kitchen 20 years ago with a row of men in heavy coats. The other showed a young chef in a white jacket in that same kitchen, laughing with a woman whose hand rested on his shoulder. The young chef wore a name patch. Whitfield. Andrew sagged 1 inch. He did not know that photo existed. He looked at Zeke. Zeke stared at the floor and blinked hard. My mother learned stock from Mr. Turner, Andrew said softly. She fed her staff on his bones. She fed me on them too. The judge nodded. So the hands already taught you, she said. The story already held you. I see enough. She wrote on a pad and tore the page. Temporary stay on the sale, the clerk read. Hearing in 7 days on the land trust lease. Parties to present final terms. Mr. Carver, your motion to evict is denied for now. You may appeal. Liam pressed his lips into a line. He pulled his phone and swiped hard without looking at the room. You are close. Do not click away. Share this with one person who thinks policy never changes hearts. They stepped into the hall with relief and a weight that did not lift. 7 days. 7 steps. Joy made a list. Finish the lease. Fund the arrears. Train the teens. Write the service policy with ABC. Post a monthly report on time. Hold a block forum. Sleep. They did all but the last one. On the 7th day, 2 hours before the hearing, A main broke in the street. Brown water rose. City trucks blocked the curb. The kitchen could not open. The line for lunch formed anyway. The mood went thin. Liam stood across the street with arms folded and a smile that finally looked honest. Acts of God, he told the camera. We need strong owners. Zeke stepped onto a milk crate with a folding table. He lit 2 camp burners. He set a pot on the flame and looked at Andrew. We will not cancel lunch, he told him. We fed on worse. They ladled bowls until the pot showed bottom copper. The teens ran with trays. Joy kept the list moving. Sal signed 3 more pages with a wet sleeve. 5 minutes before the hearing, a courier ran down the block with an envelope. He handed it to the clerk at the courtroom door. The clerk read fast and looked up. The note holder sold the debt at noon, she told the room. New party steps in. Liam grinned. To me, he said. I took it. The judge looked at Sal. Your partner still stands, she asked. Sal stood tall. Yes, he answered. The trust steps in where owners fail. The judge spread her hands on the bench. We decide now, she said. The door opened at the back. An elder walked in with a cane and a banker's box. She set the box on the table. Clerk, she said, I hold the deed to the old arcade. I name the land trust as buyer on terms you will want to read. The judge lifted an eyebrow. The room leaned forward as one. The gavel lifted. The judge read fast. Sale of adjacent parcel to the land trust at below market. Right of first offer on the restaurant lot. Community bond to fund arrears. Conditions tied to jobs and public books. She looked at the elder. Your name? Ruth Delgado, the woman answered. My husband owned the arcade. We kept the deed for a day like this. The judge tapped the plaque with her pen. The covenant holds, she said. I approve the ground lease with the land trust. I accept the bond. I deny eviction with prejudice. She paused and looked at Liam. File your appeal if you wish. You will lose it here. The gavel fell. The room broke into a sound that was not noise. It was relief made loud. Outside, city crews cut the water and clamped the main. The block steamed in the sun. The teens rolled out hoses to wash the walk. Joy taped a fresh poster to the door with the 5 lines in large type. Kids color copies at the first table. Feed the block. Hire the young. Post the books. Hold the room with respect. Keep the door safe. Liam stood alone with his phone and no one to film him. He pressed his tie flat and walked away into traffic with his head down. That night, the room filled with neighbors and elders and kids in practice shirts. Andrew stood at the pass with Zeke. He handed him a jacket with clean sleeves. Zeke slid one arm in, then the other. His hands shook. Andrew steadied the cuff with 2 fingers and stepped back. Name the dish, Andrew told him. Zeke looked at the teens. He looked at the ribbon pinned on the wall. He swallowed once. Sunday bones, he said. Voice steady now. Add a line on the menu. Cooked with hands that held when rent did not. They hung the blue ribbon by the plaque. They invited Ruth to the first seat. Joy poured water, like it mattered as much as wine. Sal stood at the door and greeted each person with a small nod that looked like a promise. Bowls moved. Faces softened. Hands warmed. Zeke watched Eli salt with his fingers and smiled from the middle of his chest. Mid-service, a woman in a wool hat walked in with a baby and a letter. She held the envelope like it was heavy. I start here next week, she told Joy. Night prep. This pays for my kids' daycare. Joy hugged her with one arm and called for a stool. A man in a security uniform sat 2 seats down and blinked back tears. He had eaten fast food on breaks for 10 years. He ate this bowl slow. He did not wipe his face. He let the heat do the work. At closing, the room did not empty fast. People stacked plates and wiped their own tables like they owned the room. The teens did not stop moving until every pot was clean and every surface dry. Andrew clicked off the pass lights one by one. Zeke stood under the last one and held the blue ribbon to the plaque for a quiet moment. He turned to the room. I slept under a sign for 2 winters, he told them. I will sleep indoors tonight. He looked at Ruth. She handed him a small envelope with a key and an address. A studio above the old arcade, she said. Rent set by the trust. First month on us. Call when you need a hand. Zeke put a hand over his mouth. He breathed. He lowered it and laughed once. It sounded like a thing breaking and healing in the same second. He hugged Ruth like you hug a person who held a door open so long it hurt. Eli filmed none of it. He put his phone down and wiped his own eyes with his sleeve. They locked the door. They stood under the awning. Rain did not fall. The sign glowed. People lingered and would not leave because leaving felt like a small loss. Zeke rested both palms on a glass and read the 5 lines out loud one more time. Feed the block. Hire the young. Post the books. Hold the room with respect. Keep the door safe. He stepped back. He looked at Andrew. He looked at Joy. He looked at the teens. Keep a bowl ready near close, he told them. Someone will need it. They nodded in unison. If this moved you, share the video with one person who believes small rooms change big lives. Subscribe to Echoes of Black Struggle for weekly stories where dignity wins and rules hold. Drop a comment with one line you want on a door in your city. Then go feed someone near you.